Greetings, guys. It's Fancy. I am the award-winning editor and publisher of SwagHer magazine, and today I'm going to be interviewing Michigan State Representative Sarah Anthony. So you all are in for a treat, and also she's going to basically be discussing what happened last week that made her basically go viral on the internet. And I see that she just joined in, so I'm going to bring her right into things. So how are you all doing in the meantime? And if you all have any questions, you could leave them in the comments. Greetings. Look, we got it on the first try.
We did. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm well. You're so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank
for having
you.
me.
Thank you. Look, I had to throw on the wrap, but you're so beautiful as well. I'd like for you to first kind of, introduce yourself. I think it's always better when the guests do it themselves. So I'll let you go first.
Yeah. So one, I'm just happy to be on. So thank you again. My name's Sarah Anthony. I am a state representative here in Michigan. I grew up in the city of Lansing, which is the capital city of the state of Michigan. And in 2018, I was elected as the first Black woman to represent our community, and which was like a tremendous honor. It's just something that I pinch myself every single day when I walk into the Capitol building and I get to serve the people that really have spent their entire life serving me and pouring into me and investing in me. My teachers, my Sunday school teachers, my neighborhood leaders, everyone that I grew up with, I get to serve them in the legislature. So it's a dream come true. I went to school in Michigan, so I graduated from Central Michigan University, and have just spent my life as an organizer, as someone who works on political campaigns. I've done some work in the college access field, so making sure that low income and Black and brown youth are able to obtain college degrees and credentials, because my passion is education. I feel like sometimes it's the great equalizer. It helps us at least in some way. But yeah, I love what I do. I enjoy serving the community, and I just have a passion for it. So I won't get into any other titles and fancy stuff. That's just kind of me. Oh, and I loved the Jill Scott and Erykah Badu battle. It wasn't even a battle. It was like a love fest. Like, that was my entire Saturday. So
Oh, I know it was. It was so awesome.
It was. It's just like I needed it. Like after everything negative in this world right now, right? So the attacks on our people, the negativity, the coronavirus, everything has just been so heavy. And that lifted my spirit in ways that I didn't even know I needed. So I'm still high off that.
But that's good, especially in light of recent events. But I think like we all kind of needed that as well. And I see a lot of hearts, so I'm thinking we have some of your constituents on with us, and they're showing their approval of you. So, so now,
I see each other right there. Hey, guys.
So now, today we were going to discuss, like what happened last week with you at the state capitol when basically we saw what happened, I guess more so like after the fact when you were being escorted by the armed guards. But can you first tell us, what happened the first time you went to the state capitol, which led to the events of the photo going viral?
Yeah. So there have been a series of protests that have been happening at the Capitol building, which I mentioned to you are in my legislative district. It's in my community, and these protests have been escalating, right? And on I guess April 30th, there was a protest that was taking place, and I understand that many of the folks who were there, are frustrated about our government stay-at-home order. Right? They're frustrated about unemployment. They're frustrated about their small business not being able to remain open. So it's a frustrating time for many people. But a fringe group of those people decided to come to the Capitol, not only with swastikas and Confederate flags and nooses and depictions of our governor Hitler, but they also came with large semi-automatic weapons. Right. And it created such a tense and intimidating environment. Just imagine having to walk back and forth from your office through a crowd like that. And I've tried to explain how that feels to colleagues who are not African American, and it's hard for me to really articulate that. It's hard for me not to see a Confederate flag and not think about, you know, our racist past, about, you know, slavery and segregation and violence towards Black people, right? It's hard not to do that. It's hard not to see the noose and not think about our legacy of lynchings in this country. And so that was really at the backdrop of the protests that were happening on April 30th. And so I think a little bit out of frustration and out of fear, I went to social media. And what started off as me really trying to, you know, let my constituents know, here's what's happening on the Capitol grounds in case you need to come downtown, kind of the traffic flow. I think something in me just snapped a little bit, you know, the fact that I had to go into that building. I'm kind of preparing myself to walk into this building in the face of all of this hatred and racism.
Right.
And so I think that some folks saw that display and saw me, I mean, I think genuinely really upset. And a few community members, you know, black men and women reached out to me and said, we don't want to see that again. We don't want to see our state representative made to feel vulnerable, made to feel scared and intimidated, because we sent you there. We helped get you elected, and
right.
Our responsibility to keep you covered, to keep you protected. And so the following week, you know, first thing in the morning, I was on my way to my appropriations committee, and they said, "Oh, we weren't playing. When we said we'd show up, we showed up for you." And they escorted me into the Capitol and to my office, and it was a great feeling.
So did you like, I mean, and it's really great that they, you know, decided to do that they, you know, because a lot of people would have, especially in this day and age, you know, we're all kind of behind our screens and like, oh, I would do this, and that. But the fact that they actually, you know, made it happen, they took action, that right there alone says so much. And then the fact that they, you know, thought about the fact that they did put you in that position, you know, that is a position that you're elected into. And then they still wanted to take it a step further and protect you. That says a lot about your character and what all you're doing within the community as well. But did you like worry in any sense, like about what your colleagues may have thought?
You know what? You know, my colleagues, particularly our African-American colleagues, we have been feeling this tension for a long time, right? Mm-hmm. Again, when we were bombarded in our Capitol building with these large weapons, and I can't stress that enough, right? Some of our colleagues wore bulletproof vests to the House and Senate floor. You know, several folks were trying to vote, and these large guns were kind of peering down at them. Wow. Who goes to an environment like that? And, you know, when a couple of the sister legislators, we were talking, and we were like, if they start shooting, if they storm that door, who do you think's getting shot first? Who do you think that they're going to look for first? And it's hard to articulate that to people about the level of fear that we felt. And so for me, when I look at the photos that were taken that day, which I didn't know that there was going to be like any cameras around, like I had no idea. But when I look at that photo, I don't even see the guns. And I know that sounds really naive, but I see the community. I see that, you know, this narrative around the fact that we don't support each other, right? And, oh, you'll be fine. We'll do what we do. I'm just going to tweet about it, but I'm not going to be about it. That was what I saw. I saw community coming together and, you know, looking out for each other. And for me, I said they could have left their guns home because we were united as community. And, you know, someone asked me, like, you know, that they said that the photo looked very radical. And I said, us looking out for each other as a community isn't radical. It's what we do. It might not be familiar to you, but we look out for each other. And if anything comes out of this, I hope we change the narrative around the way we support each other, the way we look out for each other.
Right. I think you all kind of really set like an example because, I mean, even with you just saying like the conditions of what you all, like how the voting process is with the guns or, you know, the people protesting and so on, I don't think most of us really realize that, you know, that doesn't seem to be something that, and I know I'm always reading the news, but I hadn't just really heard anything to that effect. So to know that you all are actually working in those conditions, you know, like that's totally being overlooked. So how are the conditions though, like within the Black community in Michigan, and particularly, with dealing with the impact of COVID-19? How are things that way?
It is, I mean, it is really bad. There's no good way to say it. At one point, I don't know if this is still the point, but Michigan was number 3 in COVID cases in the United States. And in Southeast Michigan, where, the city of Detroit is, those counties in and around Detroit was, the hotbed of where we saw so many of the coronavirus cases sparking. Mm-hmm. So, the whole adage that when America gets a cold, Black America gets the flu, that has been extremely accurate here in Michigan. I mean, me personally, we have seen so many people, even in our Lansing area community, be impacted. In our church family, the president or the treasurer of our NAACP in our local branch died from the coronavirus. A couple people from my church, and we don't have a mega church, but we have a sizable church, have passed away. We've had high profile pastors pass away, all African American, right? And even just today, I learned of the passing of a very good mentor and friend of mine, former state senator Morris Hood, who also passed away from the coronavirus. So this has been devastating to our community. It really, really has. Mm-hmm. And the other kind of elephant around these protesters is that they've been majority white, and many of them have not been practicing social distancing, wearing masks. Mm-hmm. And, when one of the protesters during one of the demonstrations was trying to come towards me and trying to articulate their frustration, I'm always willing to listen to someone, but right now we're in a pandemic. So I'm like, you got to back up. If you don't want to wear a mask, you got to back up, because your body could be used as a weapon right now. And that's important for me to make sure I'm covered, that I'm okay. And so it is difficult right now. And I know that my lens as someone who has seen the impact of the coronavirus on my community is very different than someone from a rural part of our state who hasn't known anyone who has been diagnosed or died. They mm-hmm. haven't had to bury grandma and try to figure out what 10 people are we going to have to bury our matriarch, right? These are decisions that people aren't having to grapple with in all parts of the state. And so for me, I've seen folks almost blame African Americans, for the stay-at-home order. If they mm-hmm. weren't getting sick, then we could go to work. If they weren't getting sick, we could, go freely around the state. So it's definitely a powder keg, I feel like, in Michigan right now.
Wow. And again, I don't really feel like, I do believe I did see some articles like about the impact of COVID within the Michigan community, and particularly within the Black community. But just knowing, like right now, there does sound like there's a lot of tension, in place. So I'm just like really, I don't know. But one thing I also wanted to ask, so with that being said, because even like the first time when you all were voting, I think you said that was like on April 30th, that was pertaining to the stay-at-home order. So right now, while we're, the president is in talks of us opening the country or the different states, do you feel that you all are really in a position to be moving forward with reopening? Because you all just reopened another, like a portion on Monday, right?
Yeah, there's like a slow reopening process, right? The governor is trying to be really intentional about which sectors are reopening, right? So an example is, she decided to allow landscapers to, start to do their jobs, right? Because there's not a lot of human contact. Someone can go out, cut your grass, prune the flowers without having a lot of face-to-face contact with folks. So where it makes sense, we're trying to slowly reopen, right? But we also have to make sure that when businesses open their doors, that they're ready, right? Do they have enough masks to provide for their employees, and gloves and sanitation programs to ensure that things are, ready to reopen? Because no one wants us to reopen out of haste, out of political pressure, and then, we see a spike. And then people get sick, right? I think it would be harder for us to reopen and then have to close again. No one wants that. So I'd rather, be diligent and wait it out a little bit as opposed to trying to rush. because of this tension that we're feeling.
Right. So, well, is there anything else, that you would like to leave us with, or, any way that we as the community, even though, near or far, might can assist you or your cause, or, the things that you're pushing right now?
Well, one thing, I want to make sure that people are staying safe. Like, I am taking this coronavirus seriously. As I talked about, we're burying loved ones. This is impacting Black and Brown communities more than any other communities. And so I want us to stay safe, right? So whatever your, law enforcement, whatever the government in your respective towns and cities across the country are saying, please do it, adhere to it, and then also use common sense, because some government officials are not using common sense. So we have to be the ones that are diligent about washing our hands and, covering our face with masks, etc. So I want us to be safe. And then I want us to love one another and look out for one another. That is, I think, what has been on my heart lately, is in the midst of this chaos, in the midst of these heightened race relations issues, how are we going to love on one another and show up for each other? It doesn't have to necessarily be with guns, right? We should be able to enjoy the Second Amendment like everyone else. And I am a proponent of the Second Amendment. But at the same time, it's not about that. It's about us showing up for each other, and that can be in big ways, like escorting, each other to the Capitol when we see a sister or a brother in harm's way. Or it can be just checking in on people who you haven't heard from, checking in on our mental health. This is weighing on us in ways I don't even think we know. And so if we can wrap our arms around each other, knowing that, it's not always, sometimes we all we got.
Right.
We all we got. And so I think it's important for us to do that. So hopefully this time draws us closer as a community, as opposed to dividing us.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And even earlier when we were kind of discussing how did it make you feel with all of this going on, and with what you just said now, one thing I just kind of wanted to mention, because it has been said, that the Black woman is the least protected, least respected, so you all are kind of changing the narrative. What occurred last week almost kind of changes the narrative, or begins to kind of set an example for others to see. And like you said, we can start showing up for each other in other ways. It doesn't always have to involve guns, but we can still just start, taking a little bit more extra effort, get from behind the screen and actually get out there, for one, safely, with your mask and all that. So yeah, don't forget that stuff. Don't forget to take precautions. Thank you so much, State Representative Anthony. And you all can follow her. I'm gonna leave the t-shirt sponsor as well as her Instagram handle here again, because I did forget to pin it. But thank you for taking the time out to speak to us.
Oh, thank you. Have me on anytime. I'm gonna start tuning in.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so again, thank you all for tuning in. And I always kind of forget about the pinning stuff, so I wanted to make certain that I did try to and I don't see the option to pin it. Okay, so there is Representative Anthony's Instagram handle if you all would like to follow her. And then I'm going to grab my other phone quickly and just leave my t-shirt sponsor, which is Hook a Sister Up. It is an online community for women. It empowers women. And I'm going to be speaking more about them tonight on the Theories and Thoughts podcast. But I wanted to make sure that you all got to see the shirt in full, because I know it doesn't show when we're on that podcast. So I just want to leave Miss Linda's Instagram here for you all. And I'm trying to find it. 1 second. And I don't even know if I can actually join the live, but I can do. I'm gonna leave it from my personal account so that you all can support her, because it is really all about support right now. I'm just really enjoying seeing so many different people talk about supporting Black business. If not now, then I think this is the perfect time. But where, especially as a small Black business owner, I know how important it is for us to be able to stay afloat throughout these times. And so when we're supporting each other, that's already putting us in a better positioned than if we're going to be like just constantly supporting those outsiders and strangers and the people that we don't know. And for those who might not be as familiar with SwagHer Magazine, we are a empowerment and lifestyle publication. We have SwagHer Online, whereas we like include different content daily. And then we also have our print issues, which is like the bigger issue here. And then we also have our travel books, which are the mini issues. So you all can definitely check us out. We do offer advertisement, or we are preparing for our next issue, which will also be in celebration of our 10 years in business. So in spite of everything, guys, you know, like I know that we have been blessed, and I just hope that we can continue to be a blessing to you all and provide informative and empowering, you know, informative information as well as empowering news and content. So I ask that you all continue to support, and do check out the Theories and Thoughts podcast tonight at 7 p.m. on SwagHer Magazine's Facebook. That is hosted by Arya Tim Davis and I. So tonight we're going to be discussing don't leave your spouse behind, because we've all been talking about leveling up, especially us ladies. So let's not make certain, you know, let's make certain that we're not just totally leveling up and then we're leaving our men behind. So tune in. We're actually going to be speaking in with two wives who have been married for years, so they have a lot of knowledge to drop on us. And now I'm totally done. So peace and blessings. Bye, y'all.